Shiv Kumar Batalvi, the man, the myth, the hopeless romantic, or the poet who poured his heartbreak into his verses. Well, there are countless ways to remember him, but on what would have been his 90th birth anniversary, we are taking a different route. Today, we will look at how millennials and Gen Z rediscovered him and made him cool all over again for a generation that never really grew up on him. Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Triya Gulati and this is a special segment on the legendary poet. Shiv Kumar Batalvi isn't just a name. He was one of Punjab's most celebrated modern poets who was born on July 23, 1936 in a village now part of Pakistan's Sialkot district. He moved to Batla in Punjab during partition when he was just 11 years old. Batalvi Saab started writing early and his writing usually focused on the ache of love, its loss, its absence, and its refusal to fade even when the person is long gone. That single obsession earned him the title Birha da Sultan, which means the Sultan of Separation. His biggest contribution to Punjabi literature came in 1965 with Luna, a verse play retelling the ancient legend of Puran Bhagat, but told from the perspective of Luna, the woman traditionally cast as the villain of the story. It was a radical reworking for its time, giving voice and sympathy to a character literature had always dismissed, and well, it remains a landmark work of modern Punjabi Kissa poetry. In 1967, at just 28, Luna made him the youngest person ever to win the Sahitya Academy Award, a record that still stands. His personal life mirrored his work rather too closely. A broken relationship that he never fully got over, a marriage that came afterward, and a slide into heavy drinking that eventually caught up with him. What makes his legacy remarkable isn't just the work itself, but how far it has traveled since. Batalvi Saab unfortunately lived only 36 years. He drank himself to an early grave and never once had to worry about going viral. Yet, 5 decades later, his work remains relevant because heartbreak, written well, doesn't really die. Millennials found him through Bollywood, while Gen Z found him through Reels, and together they made Batalvi Saab cool again. It's rare for these two generations to agree on anything on social media, but Batalvi Saab seems to be the exception because both these generations at their core are yearners, and he wrote longing better than almost anyone. He is the original sad boy and arguably more quotable than poets twice as famous. One of his most popular works is the poem Ik Kudi Jida Naam Mohabbat. It is about a girl named Love who has simply gone missing. The imagery Batalvi Saab's words create is so evocative that composer Amit Trivedi couldn't hold back from incorporating it into film Urta Punjab. In the film, the poem is dressed as a song and words are unchanged. Diljit Dosanjh, who sang Ik Kudi along with Alia Bhatt for Urta Punjab, introduced Batalvi Saab's imagery to listeners who had never encountered him through a textbook or an old ghazal. The singer managed to capture Batalvi Saab's ache in his voice. But one of his most used poems in Bollywood is Ki Puchdeo Hal Fakira Da. This poem about the state of wandering, indifferent to worldly gain, has been recited, sung and sampled across decades of Punjabi folk and Sufi-influenced music. Artists like Rabbi Shergill and Jasleen Royal have both drawn on Batalvi Saab's fakir imagery in their own compositions, using it as shorthand for a kind of detached, world-weary devotion that still resonates with listeners chasing meaning outside conventional ambition. While it is most famously known as an independent Sufi folk track sung by artists like Mahendra Kapoor and Ghulam Ali, a variation of the line Tu Puchneyo Hal Fakira Da is used as the opening verse of the song Fakira in the 2019 film Student of the Year 2. Additionally, the lines also found its way in the Shah Rukh Khan starrer Donkey. They are played in the background when Vicky Kaushal, who plays Sukhi, finds out that his love interest has committed suicide. But one of my favorite poems of Batalvi Saab, which has been given a musical touch, is Aj Din Chadya from Saif Ali Khan and Deepika Padukone's film Love Aajkal. It is said that Batalvi Saab wrote it when he was personally experiencing a heartbreak. He compared the day itself to his lover's presence, describing sunlight as intoxicating and faintly dangerous, like the bite of a poisonous snake. It was Punjabi singer Hans Raj Hans who poured the poem into music in an album dedicated to Batalvi Saab, but this poem reached its widest audience through Love Aajkal. That said, music isn't the only reason a poet who died in 1973 keeps trending among people young enough to be his great-grandchildren. Social media, particularly Instagram, has basically become his second afterlife. There are social media pages dedicated entirely to Batalvi Saab's poetry, some with following in lakhs. They post his verses as captioned reels and carousel slides, turning his work into shareable format usually used for breakup memes and motivational quotes. Not to be proud of, but a generation that discovers most literature through their social media feed rather than a bookshelf, this has done more to keep him current than any syllables could. There are some people who would not just capitalize his poetry but also narrate his stories, keeping him alive in conversation and memories. They also break down individual poems line by line for listeners who want the context, who Batalvi Saab was writing to and what he had lost. Batalvi Saab wrote before Instagram, before breakup playlists became a thing, or anyone had a word for the specific ache of loving someone who has already gone. But his words translate almost too easily into a generation fluent in feeling everything out loud. And that's how Batalvi Saab, who spent his life drowning in unrequited love and cheap whiskey, became the unofficial ambassador of heartbreak today. Thank you for watching and follow for more.